Hey folks, Rob here with another Rob Plays. And this week, bug notwithstanding, we've got Spore. Now, Spore was originally, I believe, written for the C16. The same copyright date applies there, 1987. It was written and ported to the 64 by Jim Baguley, who I believe wrote the game on both, and published by Mastertronic on their Bulldog label. So, the basic story is there's this experiment involving spores in a particular lab that's gone bad. And so the spores have basically had a giant outbreak. And it's infected the lab. So they've made an antidote, but they kept it in the lab because they made enough to basically contain local outbreaks, local incidents, not a mass outbreak like has happened. And in order to solve everything, you need to go in there and recover all the antidote. Unfortunately, the spores received double the radiation that they were intended, which led to this outbreak, and all of it is required. So let's dive in. There is something I like. I have never used it, but there is a level editor, which I think is a really cool touch to this game. So we have that little flashing yellow star, and the idea is we need to collect the barrels, and those are the blue ones. You can see them in the lower right-hand corner. And so the idea is you wander across the stage, and it's basically like a localized gauntlet, which I think is such a cool twist. Instead of the levels being giant scrolling playfields, they're just one single screen, and every character, every obstacle, the player, the spores, the power-ups, they're all characters, and that's something that the C16, good programs would use to great effect on the C16, which makes sense there, and that's why I believe this game's a C16 game first and foremost. So let's blast through these spores. So that has to be said, you don't need to clear out all the generators and the spores. Like the level ends when you clear out all the barrels, but in terms of clearing out the barrels, it makes sense to clear out as many as you can. Oh, I just zapped. Wow, I zapped the antidote. I zapped a repellent. So those white repellents basically repel the spores for 10 seconds, which helps when you're getting blasted. And the black drop I got was 100 points of energy. Because like Gauntlet, your energy does tick down over time. And when it runs out, it's game over. So we've got a bunch more spores to shoot. Now this is, I guess, my big frustration with the game, which is one of these games where it does a lot of little simple things right, but has one annoying thing, and that is the control sensitivity. Because it's about moving a character object around a screen. You move in character steps, so 8 pixel jumps. The problem is that because of the way, obviously, the joystick's being read, it's very sensitive to those jumps. So when you want to just go for like a single square at a time, it's very hard to get that right. Alright, face that first attack from up above. Let's clear out those generators because they're going to be a mess later. Now, on that second stage, it opened up these squares here are dirt, and that's how you can shoot through them. And of course, the spores could totally move through them as well. Then there's, you could move diagonally across squares, which is really handy for area. Ah, bugger, I shut the generator. I shut the mirror. So those white things are mirrors, you shoot them, they'll rotate 90 degrees. The yellow walls are barriers, and those are used to block sections off. Shooting their control blocks opens them. And a lot of this stuff is fairly straightforward, and again, it's a fairly simple game, and you've got the editor to create your own rooms, which again is something I haven't messed with, so I don't know how well the editor functions. Okay, plug and open. Alright. finish the stage, all I have to do is just get those barrels along the bottom. So, yeah, there we go. Stage 2 done. But yeah, our energy's starting to get critical. So let's see what happens on this third one. Okay, so you move out of there diagonally. Ah yes, we move out of there diagonally, which is a big advantage. If you don't mess it up like I just did. Because my big thing is, down the bottom there's 300 points of health that I want to get, that I need. Which I just got successfully. Yay! Alright. And a bunch of antidote. Those. There, of course, is another giant ladder of spores I have to get to. Yeah, like Gauntlet, you don't want to get in a situation where they completely surround you, because they'll just eat your energy away. I mean, all the energy I gained on this stage, I've just about lost. The good news, though, is that all I have to do is do that, and I've beaten stage 3. So a lot of those little tricks. And I really like that for the level design, where there's these little tricks that you have to work through. So, in this case with stage 4, I really want to try and clean up these before I dive in. Problem is that, again, there's... So there I just used the repellent, which drove all the spores away from me for... They do it for 10 seconds, and it was enough to just sort of fight my way and try and clear this opening part of the stage. But again, I'm starting to be pounded, so I have to really think. I like that there's a bit of thought in terms of movement. You know, you've got to move fast because of the nature of the enemies. You know, to do things like that. Okay. And then we swipe those. Yeah, I mean, I think in terms of frustrations, the sensitive controls is probably my biggest problem with the game. They're just, I wish they were a little tighter in how they responded. There are occasions where you do have to just go, you've just got to clear generators. This is one of them. Clear those out. Nice. Okay. And then... Come on. Nah, game over. Ugh. That is a bit of a bummer when that happens. You just get trapped. In that case, for some reason, my shooting just wasn't having an effect at all. But there we go. So Spore, as I said, it's one of these budget games that just does a lot of things right. It's this simple idea, building on an arcade game, adding a level editor, keeping it to a fairly simple screen size, making it manageable, adding a lot of challenge, and making a game that's really good fun. This is what I've really been enjoying playing, and I have to say it's really worth checking out, either on the C64, or if you happen to have a C16 or Plus 4. Unfortunately I don't have it there, and I would have loved to have done a comparison, but it's on the list to hunt down eventually. So with that, that's pretty much a wrap. Thanks again for watching. If you haven't already, please do consider subscribing. I usually try to offer, a video a week, mostly C64 as always, but occasionally other 8 or 16-bit stuff. If you have subscribed, many thanks. Please do leave a comment with your thoughts and a thumbs up. And failing that, if you've got a couple of bucks and able to spare a couple of bucks a month, and you dig what I do on the channel, and you want to see some larger looks at some larger games, do consider subscribing to my Patreon. You get early access to vids, also some other stuff which I'll be expanding over time. But with that, thanks again for watching, and I'll catch you next time.